another fine soprano, Andrea Bickford. Her panelists are Melanie Sarakatsannis, Helen Hughes Ralston, Sandor Schneller, Maestra Harer, Calvo, and Maestro Hugh Kronrot. Please sit back and listen to the live singing. Hello, Andre. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Where are you right now?
I am currently in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, great. What would you like to sing for us today?
I would like to start with Jewel Song from Gounod's Faust.
Excellent.
Hey, very good. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, very nice. Helen, would you like to start, please?
Overall, I really enjoyed your performance. I loved your characterization of Margarita. She is a very innocent woman at this point and is just absolutely, blown away by this casket of jewels that has been left to tempt her.
Yes.
And as much as I enjoyed that, my critique would be to not forget that you need to breathe before you come in, because you're waiting too long to take your breath at your entrances. So you're at the last second getting a little, and it would set up your voice a little better. I think if you had a slower breath inhale before you get to those entrances, even though she's very excited, if you don't have time to take that breath, then yes, you do your catch breath. But when you have the time, you might want to practice acting, but also taking that slower inhale so that you're a little more in your body when you start those phrases where you have the longer time between coming in. It's interesting because your voice is this aria is kind of funny, this whole role. The aria is always sung by lighter sopranos, generally speaking, but the role is really not light. When you get to the end of the opera, it is hard.
Yeah.
She is singing her butt off, and it is really a killer role. Because what happens is so many times they cast someone who sings this aria easily, but then when you get to the end of the opera, it's too much for those lighter voices. Your voice doesn't strike me that way. You have kind of a rich middle voice. My only concern about that was that I felt like on all those little upward runs up to the G's, you were taking a little too much of that weight up with you. And my advice would be the way you sing the high B at the end is where you want to be on your G's. You really want to be into that space a little before that. So you want to be turning your voice over into that squealo a little bit sooner. Some of the pitches at least at the beginning of those runs was a little fuzzy. So again, maybe just clean up the runs a little bit. Sometimes because I have a big sound, the way I would do that is sing it staccato a few times just to clean those pitches up, just and do it a staccato and then connect it again. Just to help you clean up the pitches. They were just a little, and that could just be nerves too. They were just a little fuzzy. Your French, I thought was beautiful. French is not my strongest language, but I thought it was very good. And overall, a lovely performance. I enjoyed hearing you, and you have a lovely instrument. So please keep singing.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking all of those same exact things myself. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Helen. That's great. Okay, can we go underneath Helen to Sandor, please?
You do have a lovely voice, really quite nice, and I really liked how you were acting and kind of referring to the jewels that the devil just brought to you. Of course, you don't know who really brought it and stuff, but it was really very nice. The acting was really quite good. I would agree with just about everything that Ms. Ralston. Now, one of the things that I did see is that first, let me ask you, what is your concept of support? How do you go about support? What does that mean to you?
Support to me means I'm activated all around, starting from really from everywhere, but I really feel it out and wide and buoyant, all like a big ball going out is how I feel support.
That's very good. And a lot of times that's something that's very misunderstood with singers, because everyone says, support it more. And then no one tells you really how to support it. You know what I mean? Or they'll tell you their version of what they feel, and then it's not going to be exactly what you feel. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they feel it in a different way. I was trying to see from this vantage point, I did not see too much expansion of your ribs when you were breathing in. Do you feel when you inhale that when I inhale, it feels like from your back it starts and it's sideways, but it also goes around like this, and you actually feel like your shoulders actually are moving out because your ribs which run from the top to the bottom, are doing that. Do you have that sensation?
Yes, I do. Maybe not when I'm in the moment singing and catching my
Uh,
breath as I was
uh,
definitely catching my breath a lot of times, but yeah, I feel it expand down and out.
okay, okay, very good. Now, one of the things that I did see a little bit was that you are mouth breathing in a lot of phrases, and that's almost like an attempt to get more air in. Do you feel like you're running out of air?
No, not running out. I definitely, in this aria specifically, I catch, like I'm gulping for this
Yeah,
aria
yeah,
because
huh?
I don't, for some reason, my mind is like, you don't have enough time, although I do have enough time. So, in this aria specifically, yeah, I definitely gulp for the air.
Okay. And one more point as you're breathing, as you feel your ribs expanding, like sideways, because they're expanding up and down, but sideways also, are you able to maintain that expanded position through your exhalation all the way up to the next time that you inhale? Do you feel like you're still expanded? Or do you feel like as you're exhaling, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, time to fill up again, smaller, 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 time to fill up again?
I it's a mix. I mean, my goal is to stay expanded, right? But I do
Mhm.
feel the movement like compressing in.
Mhm.
If I'm not mentally like thinking of it, I catch myself definitely collapsing.
Right, because I was seeing that a little bit, and what that is causing is, as far as the pitch not being quite fuzzy was a good word, I think. That was Houston Ralston, Ralston Hughes, excuse me. Um, I think that if you keep working on being able to keep expanded, and that's where really the work is in doing things. If you can keep expanded, you will find that that comes out much easier, because what's happening now is, as you feel you're running out of air, what's activating in your throat, I saw a little bit, is what some people refer to as the pillars of the apostles, and their muscles right here, kind of like alongside in that. Do you ever feel that sensation? Because you only do it, it seems to, like momentarily.
Yeah, I don't feel anything in there, but
uh, because,
I probably can. Well, I mean, I don't feel it when I sing anything,
okay.
but I bet if I like looked, I could see it.
Okay, because that's a sign when your support is starting to collapse in on you a little bit, then this kind of tries to take over for it, and stuff. So that would be just something to do. But the acting was wonderful, and I will say that your posture is exceptionally nice. That's not something that you always see. But you're really, you have your head exactly where it should be, and it really is very nice to see. So congrats on that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, can we go to Lisa, please?
That was nice.
Thank you.
So I'm a coach, not a voice teacher. So I have a bunch of really nitpicky coach stuff that I'm going to talk about. Actually, I just, first of all, I'd like to say you did a great job. Recorded accompaniments really suck. And I mean, not the accompaniment itself was great, whoever did it, but having to sing with a recorded accompaniment is very challenging. And you did an excellent job. Although I have to admit that I stalked you a little, and this is the same one you used on your YouTube, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So you're used to it, which is great. You really know what's going to happen. So, but that's great that you did that so well. And I also agree with Helen that it was very engaging performance to watch. Really, you're real delightful to watch. Very, very nicely done. Now the nitpicky coach stuff is coming. So overall, your French really is pretty good, but there's a few vowels that I picked out that are you're just singing the wrong vowel in about 3 places.
Yeah.
All right. So at the beginning, I ran and got the score in the middle of it because I thought I knew it well enough, but I think I need the score. When you do right at the beginning, oh Dieu, est un rêve charmant, rêve. The second syllable of that is a mute E. So make sure that you're kind of going, I don't know what you did, but it wasn't a mute E. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was ah-ish. And then shortly after that, mes yeux n'ont jamais vu. No, N-O apostrophe O-N-T is N-O nasal. No,
Right.
you're just singing the wrong vowel. All right. I'm just going to go through all the little diction things first and then talk about some other stuff. Actually, there's only one other thing. Yeah, really, it's pretty good. There's just a couple of vowels that bothered me. When you have the word M-A-I-N, it's meh. And so the thing about this is my take on nasal vowels, and I'm a coach, so I don't know if other people agree with this or not. I think it's more important that you really recognize what the actual vowel is before you start nasalizing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's an open E, meh, and then you sort of blow a little nasal onto it, meh. And I just feel like you sang ma or something. It was just more ah. It just wasn't the right vowel. It's just very small things. Those are the only places. Otherwise, I think it's quite good. All right. So now the couple of other little things that I heard. You need to work on your trill a little bit. It was kind of started okay, and then it didn't really develop into a trill. And I can't tell you how to do that. I'm just telling you what I hear as a coach. And also going up into the run immediately after the trill, da 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 da, was a little sketchy there. You might want to just make sure that I loved Helen's suggestion about doing staccato, because that really helps. I have a couple other singers that do that when they're confused about something in a cadenza or something. They just do it staccato and really clears it right up. So I thought that was a great suggestion, Helen, actually. Thank you. Overall, I think your descending phrases could use a lot more legato. And of course, that I went to grab the score for that very reason. Of course, I can't think of a single phrase now that I was talking about, but like maybe no, ce n'est plus toi, like those kind of downward phrases. Just make sure you're really singing through the connecting these vowels really well. And also, I could have used a little more legato on your softer singing. So just don't let up on your you're generally pretty good support. Make sure you continue that on the soft stuff. Otherwise, I thought you had some really, really lovely phrasing. And I wrote something about the last high B, but I can't read what I wrote. But I think I really like what you eventually got to. It hit
the pocket finally.
Yes, it did. That's it. Okay. I think I wrote got there on the high B. So it didn't quite hit the pocket right away, but you did a really great expansion on it, and you did get there. So I think that's about all I had. I know it's kind of nitpicky, but I think you did a overall really lovely job. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I love nitpicky, so thank you.
That's my thing.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, can we go to Melanie, please?
Thank you so much for singing that. It was lovely. Really, I love, like what Helen was saying about, a lot of times these lighter sopranos sing the hell out of this aria, but then it's the last act, right? That she's just wailing. And so I hear that you can wail. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got some nice heft in your sound, which I think is perfect for this. So I wanted to touch on Helen. Everybody was mentioning breath. I think because this aria has some time before some phrases where you can kind of settle yourself and breathe through your nose. This is a good aria to really take a moment, breathe through your nose so that you're more calm and it won't be so, gaspy, right? And I just think that'll really help settle you more so you won't have that sensation, right? And also it might keep the ribs, it might keep them out a little bit easier. All right, I wanted to say you did all those times where you don't have to sing and there's some piano going on, you filled that nicely. You really fill your empty spaces. And our eyes were they were just stuck on you. Have you ever seen someone sing and there's nothing for them to sing for 3 or 4 measures and you're just like looking around, you leave them, right? I didn't want to leave you. You were always filling, and that's so important. One thing about the runs, I think you got heavy from the get-go, which wasn't working for you, right? So I think if you think of it in a more dynamic way, start softer, so then you can bloom, on, a G sharp in the beginning. And then, if you lighten it up and then grow into it, I think you'll have more success even with the note accuracy that we were all hearing just a little bit of. And I love the staccato, exercise just to tune it up. Was there something else? The trill. I think you approached the trill just a little too heavy, which is why you couldn't really hold on to that trill, and for me personally, I approach them very light, and I don't mean singing off the voice, but just a much more narrow production, and I think you'll have more success. I mean, I'm not going to talk about how to trill, but I know you have a good teacher, but if you just lighten it up a little bit, that I think you'll have more success with that. And I'm looking at all my notes, sorry. I loved, one more thing, and then I'll stop. I loved when you said, si le tete si, you made that so special. If only he was here. I mean, if he could just see me. You really made that special. I love that. And I think I'm good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Can we go to our resident maestro, Hugh Kronrot, please?
Hello, Andrea. I enjoyed that very much. Have you had a chance to sing this song with anything other than the piano? Have you had the orchestra?
I've never had the orchestra, no, only a piano, and then now a pre-recorded piano.
Okay. But I assume you have sung with orchestra before.
Yes.
It is worth remembering that when we transcribe these scores for piano, and we try to put in as many of the notes as we can from all the instruments that we can possibly put into 10 fingers, the piano tends to become busy. It tends to kind of suggest a kind of franticness, a kind of motor perpetuo or something like that, which doesn't exist in the orchestration. The quality of the movement, if I can call it that, in the orchestra is it's like you don't step on the ground almost. If you imagine a dancer crossing the stage and hardly touching the floor, that's kind of what it feels like. And to go back to something that Helen said at the beginning, the phrases that you sing, even though you must take a breath before the next phrase, there is always enough time between those phrases to get the good breath in. Now, something I'm going to suggest to you is that you sing this piece a little slower. Obviously, you don't have a choice with a recorded accompaniment, but it works perfectly well. Now, I'm not referring to the recitative. The recitative is breathless. She is, utterly surprised, utterly lost her composure. But once the aria proper begins, I would suggest a calmer way of thinking about the piece to you. And I think not only would you breathe better and set yourself up better for the phrases that are to come, but you will be able to do more with them. One of the things that I noticed about your performance, for all of the acting, for all of the obvious comprehension that you have for the song, was that many of the phrases seemed kind of the same throughout. I don't know how to be more specific with that without actually looking at notes, but there is a way to articulate, there is a way to sculpt, a way to emote, if you will, these thoughts that she has within the ongoing tempo, within the character of the waltz and so on. And so that's really the main comment I would make to you about singing this song. Everything else that people have said is, I would agree with all of it. Especially with John at the beginning, this is a very heavy role. It's a warning to you when you get the chance, in future years to sing other parts of the role, you will know that. The aria is in many ways the lightest thing that she has all night long. And so it should be some place that you can kind of kick back, not go to your limit, not go to your maximum of energy expenditure. So I hope you will continue to sing the song. Certainly, perhaps someday you may get to sing this role, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the dancer floating across the stage. That makes total sense to me. Yeah.
Good.
Great. Thank you, Hugh. Okay. I just have a couple of small things I'd like to chime in because I agreed, and everybody used Helen's examples perfectly. When you take a breath in, I always try and think that I'm on the vowel that I'm going to sing next. So when I take that, if you're on an ah, so this way it gives you that space. Now, the only other thing that I noticed is when you take your breath, sometimes your voice gets to be one-dimensional. And and it's not in a bad way. It's very focused. And I know because of the French language, we always tend to have a brighter, more focused sound. I'd like to hear and take what Hugh said in the relaxation of it, is that to take sort of a more of an open-throated kind of concept to the vowel with a combination of the brilliance of your voice. I thought it was a wonderful performance. But Hugh mentioned the phrases being some of the same. When you take your breath in on the next vowel, it gives you probably like a third or fourth dimension to the sound, so that it's not so one-sided. Listen, we all know that we want a nice big ping in the front. There's nobody knows that more than me. But what happens is that it becomes again, it's one-dimensional, and you did such a wonderful job, and you understand the character so much, and it has to do with the balance of your air and where your sound is. That's my only criticism. It's not even a criticism; it's just a little advice to try and experiment, because I've always found that every time that I sang an aria, I tried to do it slightly different to find a more comfortable way. So this way that you're at peace. We have to have that energy, but that the vocalism, and I'm going to talk from the chest to the head, has got to be still or fluid, so that it is not so much rammed 100% of the time, because what happens is that's when the voice becomes, again, one-dimensional. And I'm not saying that you have the character. This is just like the icing on the cake, give you just something else to think about. So that's my 2 cents. Okay, so what do you have for us? What do you have prepared?
I just love Let the Wind Cry. I have Por Amor. I have The Transport from Jake Hagee's Out of Darkness.
Oh,
modern, contemporary English.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have the Chardash.
Helen, what would you like to hear?
Actually would vote for Por Amor.
Very nice. Thank you. And we're going to go in reverse order, and we're going to start with Maestro Hugh, please.
Andrea, once again, you're working with a recorded accompaniment, and it is what it is. I personally am of the much newer generation with regard to tempos in Mozart. When I was in Germany back in the 1970s, there were still many conductors who conducted the tempo more or less that you sang this piece. They conducted the piece in 4. Now, we all know it's written in 2/4 time. And I have come to believe that Mozart was more modern in his use of the tempo designation, where there is none actually in this piece. He didn't write any. But the time signature itself is something that can give us a clue as to how the piece should go. And when he writes a piece where the bar is divided into 2, which can be 2/4, it can be 6/8, it can be cut time, a la brave time in common time. He intends there to be 2 beats in a measure with 4 quarter notes. He intends there to be 2 major beats in the bar. And one of the difficulties that we have in singing a piece like this very slowly is that we kind of lose the shape of the phrase. We kind of forget where the important syllables are, the important notes are. And when we try to make 4 beats in the bar, as you obviously had to with the accompaniment you had, the phrase became ungainly. It became unbalanced. You couldn't see the arc of it. You could not see where it was going and when it was going to land, because there was a beat in between that you had to acknowledge in some way. So I would advise you to prepare another accompaniment, first of all, for yourself for this piece. And as you practice it at a somewhat faster tempo, that you really hold firmly in your mind the notion that there are 2 beats in the bar, that the first beat is the main beat, and the second beat, which is after 4/16 notes comes the second beat, is secondary, and everything else is less important. So that you will find a new way of shaping these phrases. You will find a new way of feeling the weight, let's say, of the emotion of the Countess's experience in thinking about her marriage and her husband. Otherwise, I enjoyed your voice very much. Someday, perhaps you will sing the role. This is also a role that, at least in Germany, is cast with an extremely heavy voice, sometimes approaching a young dramatic soprano, what they call a Jugendlich. So, perhaps it's something for your future.
Great. Thank you, Hugh. Okay, can we go to Maestra Lisa, please?
It was actually very lovely. Once again, I have to say I agree 100% with Hugh about the tempo. I cannot possibly be as eloquent and learned as he just was in his explanation. I wrote it all down. I was really impressed there. And it's really nice to have someone who has lived and worked in Germany and talk about what happens there. And it's great. I wrote, the only thing I wrote really was, there's nothing like Mozart to tell you what doesn't go right.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, though, if you will take Hugh's advice and get an accompaniment that moves along a little bit more, it will really help you support this more easily. It was on the slow side, and it's hard to keep the support up. And I was actually watching you a little more carefully, and I didn't really ever see you breathing. Maybe I shouldn't have to see you breathing. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different opinions about whether you should see somebody breathing or not. But I felt like I didn't really get that. And when you are able to get an accompaniment that moves along more, it's going to be much easier to get the legato where it needs to go. You had some really lovely facial expressions, but you also had a couple of times oh shit, well, you're going to have to blop that out, John, but the deer in the headlights look, where you looked a little bit worried about whether you were going to make it to the end of the phrase. You always did, and you did, brava for that. You did a really nice job. I feel like I just have to agree with you on everything. but very, really overall, just very nice. Good work.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, can we go to Melanie, please?
Hi again, and again, a beautiful rendition of another beautiful aria. I agree. This tempo it just felt very heavy, and I think it in turn. Well, okay. So speaking of accompaniment, are you having a friend make the accompaniment? Are you getting an accompaniment from YouTube? Like, where are you getting this?
So this is from YouTube, but I generally have either my coach or my good pianist friends. Yeah, like we'll collaborate and talk more about tempo and whatnot and stuff, and then make a track and pay them because
Right.
we all need help in this virtual time. So, but this is YouTube, and I also agree with everyone. It is very slow, but I haven't been keeping up with my coach for tracks in the past few weeks, so I do need this like a real one where we agree on tempo.
So the reason I'm saying this is because obviously nothing replaces someone there in the room or a recorded version from your accompanist, right? But there's an app out there. Is anybody else on the panel familiar with App Accompanist?
I use App Accompanist too. I actually, it sounds so MIDI to me, but I love how you can mess with the tempo.
Well, that's what I was going to say. All right, so you know about App Accompanist. I just wanted to make sure, because then if you were using that, you could have bumped it up a bit for your personal choice of tempi and etc. Okay, that aside. So yes, I think you'll just have more success with it a little bit faster. It felt heavy, and I would love for the run up "O mi lascia memoria" the rear. It was almost too much of going to the E vowel. I really wanted more modification, because then I felt like you could make it a little rounder instead of a true E vowel. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but I'm always about modification of the vowel when you're up, especially in an A flat. I just think, honestly, if you just sang it a little bit faster, I think it would just breathe more with you. I think it would feel a little bit easier for you, because it almost felt a little pressed. And I just think if you just lighten it up and with the tempo, I think it would be a completely different aria for you. But that's just my opinion. But still, you're such a beautiful, expressive singer, and I really appreciate that. And thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, can we go to Helen, please?
I agreed with the tempi that everyone's talking about. So that's an obvious one. You can easy fix. What I would like to talk about is vowels. Overall, I feel like you need a little more of a rounder shape in your vowels. And you could open your mouth a little bit more. You had your mouth very closed. And I think you could open it vertically a little bit more, make more space for your vowels. And I would suggest singing this aria only on the vowels. Take the consonants out, sing through it just on the vowels, and also just on the U vowel, especially the ascending line, the O mi lascia memoria, which you need to modify your top E a little bit. I would also love for you to try that ascending line, and instead of getting louder on the fermata, either just try to spin it in a softer sound. Now I think because of the tempo, maybe you were sort of running out of breath a little bit. So when you're moving it faster, you might be able to have a little more control with it. But for the most part, I thought the Italian was nice. What was the other thing I was going to say? I forgot. But mostly my concern was for you to have more shaping of the phrase, more forward motion. It gets a little static when it's that slow. So when you take it at a faster tempo, you can get that sense of that forward motion, and so that you're making an arc of a phrase and you're not getting stuck somewhere in the piece. The other thing I was going to say is, if you use this, if you think you want to audition for this role and you offer this, make sure that it is pristine, because this is the most exposed and most difficult aria. It's like this cute little, you think, oh, that's so sweet, it'll be an easy little 3-page aria. It's like the hardest aria to sing in almost the entire soprano repertoire, in my opinion. It's brutal. And it's like, that's Mozart for you. Writes this beautiful little tune and kills sopranos off, boom, boom, boom. So, and I sang this aria a gazillion, never sang the role, but worked on this aria like endlessly just to fix singing through your passaggio, basically. So it's very worthwhile singing, whether you sing the role or not. But I think it's lovely in your voice, and you have the right type of voice for this role. And I thought you might offer Dove Sono, but you didn't this time, but I imagine you sing that as well. And I think that probably would be very exciting in your voice. And I would hopefully get to hear that someday. So anyway, thank you again, and keep singing. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, can we go to Sandor? We went a little out of order. Dr. Schneller, it's all yours.
All right. Very, very nice. Overall, very, very nice. I agree really 100% with what everyone has said so far. One of the things that I noticed, again, not to keep harping on it with your breathing, is that you seem to be drawing a lot of your breaths right into your chests, because I saw that your chest would rise and then it would collapse and then rise and collapse. And what will happen over time throughout the piece, that's actually going to tire you a little bit. Okay. And on the morir, if you just change it a little bit, like to what Ms. Sarakatsannis said, instead of morir, morir, you put a little bit of like not it, like it into it, just a little tiny bit, and that will help. But most of all, I didn't see any rib expansion really at all, because I was looking very, very carefully for that, but more like that you're breathing very high into your chest. And I think that could really be key for you to really fixing so many things and making so many things that are good with you even better. So that would be, I guess, all that I would have to say about that. And I'm glad this piece was chosen, as difficult as it is, because this slightly slower tempo, even though the tempo wasn't maybe what it should have been, I think was a nice contrast to the Faust. So very good overall. And what you can do with your breathing is, if you to practice the breathing, is to take your breath in through the nose and make sure that you're really expanded, and then to take a straw, a drinking straw, and put that in your mouth and exhale through the straw. Don't blow it all out at once, but that'll do that. And as far as not opening the mouth, that's true. You didn't open your mouth a lot, which was affecting the vowels. If you take one of your hands like this and just like that between your teeth from your cheeks on the outside, as you're singing, it will change your whole sound like that does.
Could you do something? Would you mind if I work with you a little bit?
Of course.
Okay, great. Can we start this aria again? And before you sing, I want you to take a nice big yawn. Okay? And I want you to draw the drop, and don't move from the yawn position as you sing Porgi Amor. And let's see what happens. Let's see what the color, just for an experiment. I might be wrong. I'm getting old. The ears are starting to go. Everything's starting to go. I want you to yawn about 4 beats before you're ready to sing, and just keep that position. I just want to, just as an experiment. Not quite. Not bad, but not quite. Yeah. I want actually, see, when you go up for that yawn, stay there and just keep all the space that you possibly can, and let the air go. Let it go. Don't hold it. Let it go. Okay? Let's try it one more. Okay. How did that feel to you?
Felt almost hooty.
I get it. And I get it, because what happens is that we all want to have everything in control, and we want it in a certain spot. But this is see, Mozart is not that like that. It is as distinct as Mozart singing is, and it's perfection. It's so I want to say innocent and pure. What happens is that when we start controlling it and controlling our voices to make a sound or a position, I think what happens is that we stifle the beautiful line. And to me, and yeah, did it sound a little woolly? Yeah. But what the overall tone of the sound, I think, really started to open up. It wasn't so one-dimensional. I don't know if everybody agrees, and of course we're on Zoom, so I can't really hear 1,000%. But to be honest with you, I kind of liked it as more of a rounder sound. And again, in my opinion, opinions like rear ends. Everybody's got one, and I got a big one. So, I think that can we try that one more time and just relax into it. Don't think that you have to go someplace. Just finish the phrase and let the air go. Let it go and get rid of it. Listen, it's not like money in the bank. You can't get interest on it. It's not doing you any good. Okay, let's try it one more time, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you see how you went into the star? You're already on the vowel, so you really didn't have to do much to get it there. It's something that you should experiment with. Yeah. And again, it's my opinion. You take this to your teacher. Your voice, as beautiful as it is, has the capacity of being a little bit more round and rich, and that comes from less precision. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have space or you're not going to have direction in the sound. I think it's and then listen, we're not going to do it on a Zoom in 3 minutes. It's another tool in your tool belt. I don't know if everybody agrees, but I think that it gives you a different color. So keep that in mind. And what do you have what's your future with COVID? Everything is dead stop. You have in the future coming up?
Yeah, thankfully, although live performances have been dead stop, I just filmed a contemporary world premiere opera.
Good for you.
Called Windows, for the Spooky Goose Opera Collective based out of Seattle. And it's a set of 5 monodramas strung together. Wow. And it's super cool, and it's all virtual and from all over the country. So
great. Wow. And who's the composer? The composer. Great. Well, who's the composer?
The composer is Zach Redler, and the libretto is by Jennifer Coolidge.
Okay, great. Wow. Yeah. A new concept, because you're doing it your way, the first person. Now everybody will be listening to you do it, because you're the premier person doing it, which is great. So listen, and again, I wish you all the luck in the world. Any questions? If we can help you in any way, you can contact any of us here. We will be happy to help. We're there. We're here for it. This is what the platform's for. And we really enjoyed your singing this afternoon. And in spite of all the technical issues, thank you. You have a beautiful voice, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you coming on Masterclass and sharing your gift with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I learned so much from everyone, and it all things that I am thinking in myself, but put into words that now I understand.
Good. I'm glad. Great. That's what it's all about. Thank you, everyone. Okay. And
pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, I really appreciate everybody doing this. Okay, as they say in South Philadelphia, ciao for now, and thank you, Andrea, so much for singing for us.
Beautiful
Thank
singer.
you all so much. Have a great Saturday.
Good luck, Andrea. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.